you have an interest in horses and love learning more about horses, the horse industry, teaching, or even managing your own horse business, then you're in the right place. We would love you to join us on our mission, which is to improve the lives of horses around the world through the education of riders, handlers, and trainers. So get comfortable, listen in, and enjoy.
Today I'm going to introduce to you David Finch. David's a World Cup show jumper, a Grand Prix show jumper, and not only is he a rider, he's also a trainer, a breeder and a coach at that level. How are you today, David?
Yeah, great, Glennis, and thanks for ringing me.
That's okay. David, we usually start off with an inspirational quote, so can you tell me your favourite inspirational quote, please?
I like the one, world shrinks or expands in proportion to your courage.
Okay, that's a good one actually, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a good one with the horse industry and life in general.
Yeah, it's certainly you start to think of it from your point of view, how big the world is. Okay, no, that's good. Okay, now I want you to tell me how you came to have that and how it's helped you in the past.
Well, I started in the horse industry. I did that gap year after grade 12 and I'm still on that gap year and I started out grooming for people and I worked my way up in the industry and I probably wasn't a big winning young rider or anything, but I always loved the sport and loved horses and I had to make it happen. I've had to dream pretty big and some of those dreams do scare you, but you've got to be brave and take a few of them on.
That's right. The first step is to actually have the dream in the first place.
Yes.
David, so you had the gap year, so it was in that gap year then that you decided to have a career with horses. What were you going to do after, if you had just had a year?
It's that gap year's been a long year. It's I think I actually got into agronomy at uni, but I suppose it just didn't happen. The career, I suppose if you do what you do, and then you can't even say a few years, maybe a decade later, I woke up and it had become a business.
Mm.
In the infancy of what I did, I travelled a bit. Obviously, I spent a lot of time. I worked for Guy and Lena Crichton and helped them in the early years, and then I worked in Japan. We took Australians over to Japan. I worked for a Japanese company, exported horses, and that was in the 90s. And then I ended up in Germany, and then I ended up in the States. So all those things, I suppose, gave me a broad look at the industry across the globe and, and what we'd done here and how we'd grown up here, and you sort of mix it all together and it becomes a business in Australia,
So you're talking about Guy and Lena Crichton. Who else has influenced you?
Oh, yeah, Guy was he was a big winner in those, those days, and he was a remarkable horseman. And so, his innate ability to win was incredible. He's still a good mentor to me. I spent time when I was working for the Japanese, I spent a lot of time, I did stuff with Ricky McMillan. She was a big influence back then. And
a lot of people know Ricky as a dressage rider too, but she's actually a jumping rider.
Incredible.
Secretly a jumping rider. Yeah, and a good horse person. Yeah.
A good horse person, and she grew up the same as myself, and she did a lot of camp drafting and, did the ag shows as a kid. So a very similar, she knew where I was coming from, and she's still, people like that I still find amazing. In Germany, I worked with Peter Luther, and he won a gold medal with the German team in LA. That was another style of riding. He, obviously different to what we used to hear. But still, all in all, it had worked for them, and it was still a good learning experience. And then in the States, I happened to cross paths with Kathy Kustner. She worked at the stables I was at, and quite an inspirational woman. She's still an inspiration. She runs ultra marathons. I think she was the first woman jockey in the world, and just an incredible person. So, I think people like that inspire you and keep you going, and make the whole journey exciting for everyone.
Yep. And obviously dealing with people who've got a fairly expanded world.
Yeah, exactly. Not very narrow-minded, like they've been there and done it and done it around the world. Makes it a bit bigger and better.
Good. Now, David, you're breeding some very, very talented horses. What made you start to think about breeding horses? Because it's a fair jump, having a few competition horses and competing. and then, I'm sure it hasn't been just one individual jump, but you've got, you're very well known. You've got internationally, you export, well, I don't know if you're exporting, you've got horses competing internationally now. Okay. What gave you the idea, or what brought you along those lines of having a stallion breeding horses?
Yeah, I've always been intrigued by it. And I thought too, I wasn't necessarily the world's most talented rider. I did have to work hard at it, but I thought it was probably going to be easier to breed the world's horse, and that was probably a business venture than being the world's best rider anyway. So I think we have got the ability to breed good horses here. I had a wonderful thoroughbred mare called Boera that jumped a high level, and I bred her to some very good international stallions, and she was a mare and gave me 4 daughters. So I've gone with that line, and then I've been very fortunate. I've sort of looked for young stallions that I really liked, and I thought they're sons. So that's worked well. Calgary's been a wonderful horse to me. He's obviously had a few health issues himself, but he's producing great stock, and he has Shane Rose has got a very good run on him, and Chadden in America's a lot on one by him that we bred and produced here. And so we've actually got doing really good dressage too, so that's exciting. And of course the show jumpers are jumping really well, so it's nice that we're covering all 3 Olympic disciplines.
Now, when you go out and you buy these young stock, how can you tell how talented they are? How can you tell how they're going to exceed your expectations and outrival all the others? What are you looking for when you're looking to buy the young stock?
I do like a pedigree, but I do like function. I've bought these horses just by looking at the videos and things. I'd MLSC. I like a horse to be very functional, so I like to have a good walk, and I just like its whole body to work properly. So I think that makes the whole job easy in the end.
Okay.
So a nice functional horse.
Yep.
And a good pedigree, and if it's in a good model and it's a good pedigree and it's got a good mind, your builders are the way there.
I'm going to go on now to your career, because you had your gap year that you're still in. So some other, you've got a team, you've got people working for you, you'd see people that are in their gap year. What sort of advice would you give them if they plan to have a career with horses?
I do tell them to study. I do say make sure you get a career as well as do your horses, because, the industry's changed a lot since I did my gap year. The sport has changed. It's not such an age show based thing anymore, and it's got a lot more specialised. And it's good, and we've got to be conscious of it. And I'm very conscious of it that that we don't lose a few riders along the way because we become a bit too elitist or something. But I think it's good that we've got this, but we've also got to be very mindful of where we came from. Like when we, I did a talk at the opening ceremony for the inter-schools the other day, and I attended the first inter-schools, and the second one. I think the first one was in 85 and I rode in 86, and we were all there on our ex-race horses, and we did our dressage test, and we all did dressage tests, and then we all did jumping, and the first round of your jump counted as your combined training score, and everyone jumped the same course, whether you were in grade 6 or grade 12, and it was just one of those things. But it's how the sport's changed. But I think it's important that we do remember where we came from, and it's a bit like the breeding too. Like I should have mentioned before too, that I'm not afraid to keep using our good old Aussie thoroughbreds, like the well-known stock that have produced jumpers, and so I think we need to just be mindful of. We live in Australia, I know, and we do live a little bit from the rest of the world, and we do see a lot of what happens in the world now, via social media, and it's a lot easier. We just got to remember where we came from, and it is good to see those Longines touches, but we've just got to keep a bit of a reality on it. You're looking at the top 30, 40 horses in the world. There's a lot of horses underneath that, and a lot of riders under that have very good careers as well.
So they may not
and they're very fulfilled, like they mightn't be the world's best horse, but they jump a metre 40 really well and have a great day,
And riders have got to learn, like there's a progression. They're not going to start off on the world's best horse. Even now, the top riders.
And every horse is going to teach you something.
Yeah. What do you think are the keys for the riders that do get to the top? What do you think they've got ahead of everyone else?
Oh, yeah, they have a strong, they're strong. And I think they have that from the start. I helped Kate Hinchin at the start of her career, and I watched her the other day in Tamworth, and, what you see now as a 20-year-old lady jumping in the World Cups, I did see that as a 6-year-old too. She had that determination, that desire, that will to win, that focus. It probably is a personality trait too, so
okay,
it's something that desire. And
yep. So when you're saying strong, there's strength of character.
Yeah, yep. And, believe in what they're doing going to that fence. There's no doubt in her or the horse's mind what they're going to do when they get to that jump. I think you can spot it in, I mean, if you haven't got it at 6, you're not going to have it either. You can develop it, but I remember that Kate as a young girl, and she's still got that determination now, which has carried her through,
So a lot of riders have the excuse that they haven't got a sponsor. They need someone to pay all their bills. What have you got to say to that? Because you've got sponsors. What do you offer the sponsors for them to actually sponsor?
Exactly, and it's like a business deal. It's like I have lots of sponsors and then I sponsor lots of things, but it's like an investment. And, you've got to be approachable. You've got to have a product to sell to, and you've got to be able to promote the product. I strongly believe you have to believe in the product that you're promoting. And yes, and, I know myself from a sponsor, you do want something back, and it's not just gone with a bit of jam and cream on it. You just, you're helping run an event. It's not like you're just making a donation. So you want, and I think the industry, we need to think a lot about that in the industry and be quite conscious of that, support locals a bit too,
Yep.
Make it all happen a little bit here. And I think we're as an industry, we are developed a lot in Australia.
Yes, you would have seen a lot of that development from when you left in your gap year and went overseas and came back. Yeah.
It has changed a lot.
Yep.
And that is good, it is good that we're progressing.
Yep.
And I'm very positive about the progress and the shows that are being run now. And
yep.
I'm still very conscious that we have some good ag shows we need to support too. So.
Tell me about your team. How many horses have you got on the property at the moment to care for, to look after?
Gladys, there's a lot of horses. Hundreds of horses, Gladys.
Okay.
So we're breeding 30 to 40 a year. So, some go as foals, some go as weaning, some goes along the track. But I'd like to buy as foals, but not everyone does. So a lot of people like a horse that's under saddle and been to jump clubs. And, been out to shows. But, a lot of horses. I do have about 60 mares, but I don't breed from them all every year.
Okay, what about you? Who runs the team? I mean, is it you that runs the team, runs the staff to manage the horses? Do you have someone else to run the team? How does that work?
I run sort of oversee it all, but obviously I get a little bit busy travelling and working and running a few things I run. But and Matthew Kidston, he's ridden here for around 6 years now, so he runs all the competition horses and he keeps an eye over the mares and that. I run the breeding section, and we've always got people here helping. I've got some, young people here always training and doing things. And so, not a bad place if you want experience of, do a bit of breeding work and a bit of riding work, a bit of coach training, all those sorts of things.
Okay, so I'm going to talk a bit, we'll go on to coach training. So what do you think is a common problem that you see with coaches that are starting off, beginner coaches? Beginner coaches,
yeah. I did a coaches workshop recently, and that was probably a common theme, which is probably good that they're trying hard to perform a task, but, at the end of the day, it's, basically it's all back to basics, isn't it? Keeping things quite simple
and safe. Straight and safe. Yep. Do you think that coaches, when they first started, they overdo it? It's because they're a bit nervous, because they're trying a bit too hard? And
I do.
Yep.
I do. I think as an educator and a mentor too, I don't necessarily say that it's a fail or anything. I'd like to step in and help them while it's happening, and as long as they've realised the situation and say, well, maybe if you did it from this side or did that or stood here or said that word instead of,
So focused on the main things rather than all the fluffy bits around the end. The main, and which is safety, And
the consistency of it all.
Yep. Oh, just let me interrupt you for a moment, just to let people know about the horse industry qualifications at Online Horse College. Have a look at the flexible options with online theory. The practical components can be completed by video or with a qualified expert in your area. That website again is onlinehorsecollege.com. Okay, thanks. All right, now you've got young horses. How do you start your young horses off jumping?
Yeah, well, a bit like everything, Glennis. I've never peaked early. I've do take them very steady, you know. Mine even grow slow, which is wonderful because they sort of seem to vet very well. But we do a little bit with them they might get started as a 3-year-old, but won't get a lot of rides. And then 4-year-olds, they might go out a couple of times, but they won't really get cracking till they're 5, and then we sort of get a bit more serious at 6.
Mm-hmm.
I think, you know, it just gives you a longer lifespan with the horse and a better foundation on the horse. So, and I don't think they need to be tortured as young horses anyway. I just let them be horses and cruise and have a few nice experiences and take them home and have a rest and do the same again in a few weeks, you know?
Yeah.
I don't think they need to be around the arena all day, every day. And, you know, I think 20 minutes, 30 minutes here and there is fine for a 3-4-year-old horse.
Yeah.
Because they're still growing and focused and their muscles aren't strong and their focus isn't that, you know, they need to.
Yeah.
You know, you might get a couple of jumps and they need a rest. But I think the biggest thing, Glennis, is they're all different, aren't they? You know, like
yes.
Some horses need to jump a couple of jumps and have a rest. You just got to have an open mind when you're with horses and young riders.
Yep.
They all need a different approach and a different tactic.
Yep. All right. What's your proudest moment that you've had?
Oh, I've had a few. I do love watching horses I've bred and produced at the shows. That's a good one. I love watching my riders ride, you know. Matthew, and watching Matthew on a few of them, it's really, really rewarding. You know, Calgary's been a long journey. He's had a couple of colic surgeries, and then he's had renal failure. So then he had a lot of foot problems. So you know, he's an 8-year-old horse, probably, but his 5-year-old body. But he's jumping 140s and Silver Series and Mini Prix, and you know, he's starting to get it together.
Yep.
You know, it's probably not about gold medals and podiums. It's about the rehab on that horse and the getting into the ring and the belief in him. So things like that make me proud because I think the industry's a wholesome business, you know. And I go to the bush too. Like I saw this wonderful kid in Roma a couple of weeks ago, and you know, she just helped Dad muster, and she was in a little stock saddle with the split reins, and she wants to ride at the show next year, so she came for lessons, and that's all those are good moments, you know. I've won a few classes and had a lot of joy. I've travelled the world. I hope I keep travelling the world, and I hope there's a few more classes in me to win. So, but you know, I think the horses we're producing will do well. I think the next couple of years will be exciting because they're sort of getting old enough to jump some big classes. And from the feedback I'm getting from the dressage horses is good, and the eventing horses is good. So,
okay.
You know, and I've got some exciting young stallions. So yeah. And it's rained, you know, it's all happening.
It has rained. Yep.
It has rained.
Yep.
Oh, it has rained. At least we know it can rain too.
Yeah. All right. Tell me about books. Do you read much, or can you recommend a book?
I love to read.
Yep.
I love a lot of the George Morris articles. I think he writes very well. I love the Michel Robert book, The Secrets and Methods of a Champion. He has it's a very good book, and it's a lovely book as it has great pictures and diagrams for riders. But I think, you know, I'm a big reader. I love to read. Obviously I love to read my pedigrees and see what's doing well in the world. And I think, young riders these days, it's nice they can find riders of world class around the world and model themselves a bit on them. There's a lot of learning techniques now, isn't there? Like with all these different, you know, even with this Skype and that, like there's a lot we can do now. Like when we were young, it was...
It's much easier, isn't it? You know, if you want to see something, jump on YouTube.
You want to research something.
Yeah,
exactly.
Much easier.
You know, look it up.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's no excuse now.
No, that's right.
Yeah, you can be well informed.
Yes. Okay, now tell me about your future. What are you looking forward to?
I think, well, you know, hopefully it'll keep raining. Obviously the last couple of years it's been a little solid with the dry and feeding stock, and I'd dearly love to do a few more shows next year and all of that. But I'm quite excited about the future with all these horses. Pretty exciting team of 4-year-olds coming through this year, and we'll look to see a fair few of them compete next year. And I think Australia's really happening, and I think Queensland on the whole, you know, we've got Elysian Fields and Gatton World Cups and
Yes.
quite a few show jumping shows, and the dressage. Like, I'm so proud of what dressage has done. Like, they had Debbie McDonald and Charlotte Desjardins all in 1 year in Queensland, and you know, tag group and Tambourine has got a international 3-day event, and you know, harness we're doing lots. So I think as a Queenslander, I'm proud of Queensland. I think we've really going ahead. We're growing membership too, and all of that. So I think it's good. I think we've got a good, healthy horse lifestyle up here.
So, yeah, I think so too. I'm going to agree with you there. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, really the show, they are doing a great job. Like, you know, I'm so excited that eventing has an international class, because, you know, Queensland was renowned for producing eventers, and now there's, you know, we're getting a big class back to the state. You know, it'll be healthy for the state. So.
All right. Now, if you can sum up your philosophy into a lesson, something that our listeners can take away with them.
Yeah, well, I think you've got to be patient. It's you're not always going to peak early, and I think it's about longevity with horses. You know, we've got to keep our horses happy, and I'll probably keep mine too happy. But you know, and I have a great relationship with my stallions. But well, I think don't lose track of where we are. Like, we live in Australia. I know we're not on a Longines tour somewhere, but really at the end of the day, we've got a good lifestyle here, and we have access to some good shows, and the horse quality in Australia is really quite amazing now, and we have a lot of people interested in the sport. So I think it's our job as equestrians to keep developing that, and I think it's all our duty to improve the sport, and I think we're all going to have a lot of fun in the future.
I think so too. That sums it up, and I think we've all got a lot to look forward to, David. Yeah.
And I think if we just all work together, and as I say, I think it's Queensland's. I'm very proud of what's happened in Queensland. So if we can keep doing that every year, I think the next 10 years are very exciting for us.
Good. All right. Well, thanks very much for your time today. It's been wonderful talking to you.
Thank you, Glenys. It's great talking to you.
All right then. Bye-bye.
Cheers.
Oh, wait. Before you go, if you're an equestrian coach or a horse riding instructor, or even if you aspire to be one, have a look at the free video series for horse riding instructors on the Horse Chats website. Go there now, have a look, horsechats.com.
Remember that our comments and instructions are general in nature and do not take into consideration your individual horses or your individual ability and circumstances. If you enjoyed this podcast, then please leave your comment below.